Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, there's one thing that always happens whenever I do a review of a camera. And it doesn't matter whether it's a stills camera or a video camera, or a stills camera that does video, or a video camera that does stills, you know, because everything's bleeding together these days. But whenever I do a video about a camera of any type, especially when I have some to give away, one thing always happens. There's a bunch of comments left on the video complaining that they can't afford a decent camera. There's lots of people out there who are really excited and really eager to get into this making video stuff and play on YouTube and do some exciting stuff. And they feel like they're being held back because they don't have the cash to buy the expensive, shiny, new, good equipment. And that's simply not true. There are some very cheap cameras out there that are very, very good. And I wanted to prove this point, so I went out and I bought two cameras, each of which costs less than $100. $79 I got for that one, and $89 I spent for that one. So my plan was to review these head to head and show you that a decent standard def camera can spit out an image better than a cheapo high def camera, and it's not all about the pixels. But in this instance, the two I picked really didn't put that point forward very, very well, because this, the brand name standard def Kodak camera. Kodak make good cameras. I don't know why this one ever escaped from the factory, because it is horrible, nasty little bastard of a thing, and I could not get any decent image out of this thing no matter what I tried. And I know what I'm doing when it comes to cameras. Whoever at Kodak is responsible for releasing this nasty piece of crap out into the wild and actually having the gall to charge people money for it should be fired out of a cannon into a wall made out of hate and spikes and angry kittens. This thing is horrible. Don't waste your money on this. So instead, this entire review is going to be about the T7, this cheapo Chinese nasty piece of plastic camera that I expected to be horrible, but kind of surprised me in the end. So let's find out exactly how much high-def video camera you get for less than $100. The Aptec AHD T7 Pro is very small and light and buries itself nicely into my palm, where the few controls it has fall very easily under thumb. Ergonomically, it's actually quite nice to hold and use. And aside from being made from the cheap end of the plastic scale, the build quality actually feels okay. I'm not expecting bits to fall off or strange creaks and squeaks to crawl into it. Unfortunately, where the low price of the unit is really evident is the viewfinder screen, which is close to abhorrent. It's very low resolution with apocalyptically bad colors, and is useful for little else besides simple framing and seeing what mode you're in and how much battery you've got left, because the image on the screen bears only a passing resemblance to the footage actually being recorded to the memory card. Specs-wise, the camera is capable of spitting full high-def video onto an SD memory card at 1920 by 1080 at 30 frames per second, but you'll also get a 1440 by 1080 high-def mode, which allows the use of a 2x digital zoom, and a wide VGA mode, or 848 by 480, which will run at 60 frames per second and increase your digital zoom to 4x, and even a 320 by 240 mode if you really hate your eyes. The T7 is very, very light. You can toss it in a bag and take it with you everywhere, and you just won't notice the weight of it in your bag. But the downside of being both very small and very light is that it doesn't have much inertia. So every little shake of your hand is transferred very, very efficiently directly to the camera body. And the camera has no built-in anti-shake or stabilization at all. So getting a really steady handheld shot is extremely difficult, even in experienced hands. The image quality is surprising for a camera at this end of the price scale. It's nice and sharp. You do get some colour fringing under very bright conditions. Dynamic range is a bit small, so in sunny conditions the highlights will blow out pretty easily, but a decent amount of shadow detail remains. The colours tend to be a little bit muted down under most conditions, and white balance tends to lean on the warmer side, but I quite like that, and it's certainly preferable to it being too far on the cold side. The T7 also features a night shot mode for filming in low light. It can certainly make the previously buried in darkness suddenly become visible, but not without bringing a lot of image noise along for the ride. But if you ask it gently to help in scenes not quite as extreme as that one, it will get the job done okay, but I wouldn't rely on it for anything important. The lens has a macro switch on it to allow you to focus on very close objects. Like the default lens position, it is fixed focus and won't automatically adjust for variances. This, and because of the shoddy viewfinder LCD, makes it very difficult to tell if you've actually got your object you're trying to record in macro actually in the focal sweet spot. So it is of limited use for doing true macro shots, but this mode will give you the ability to have something relatively small in focus in the foreground and throw everything else out of focus to give you that nice shallow depth of field effect. The T7 will also snap stills for you as well. One press of the dedicated photo shutter button and BAM! Frankly, they're quite nice. Sadly, the viewfinder is configured for widescreen video, so you can never really tell where the top and bottom of your photo will actually be, which makes framing somewhat of a challenge. But still, it's a nice bonus to be able to get a pretty okay photo from it. The field of view of the lens is a little tighter than I usually like.
Unfortunately, because the lens isn't quite as wide as most cameras of its type, if you want to do a self-portrait like this, you're going to wind up with a big fat head and a teeny bitty opera house in the background, or whatever you're shooting at. But that's not a problem that has to be a deal breaker, because a lens that isn't quite wide enough to do a self-portrait is an easy thing to fix with the right equipment. And I'm not talking expensive equipment either. The GorillaPod, problem solved, easily done. Or, you know, a normal tripod, but GorillaPods are easy to carry.
And as you just heard, the audio isn't what I would call fantastic. But it was clear, it picked up voices quite well, it didn't distort, and didn't have any significant wind noise problems in slightly breezy conditions. It certainly reaches that good enough level for basic needs. The battery life was another surprise. The rechargeable and replaceable lithium-ion battery pack sucked in almost 2 hours of high-def footage before it wanted a fresh drink of electricity. The moral of this story is that to get your basic needs taken care of and to get you up and running producing video quickly, easily and cheaply, you can find equipment well under $100 to get the job done decently. And just by way of example, even if these inexpensive cameras aren't eye-explodingly fantastic, like your friend's $1,700 Canon DSLR or whatever, remember that if you learn how to take advantage of some post-production tricks and techniques, you're not just stuck with the raw image the camera hurls onto your SD card. You can clean it up. You can see the non-split screen version of the graded edit of this footage on my other channel right here. Thanks for watching, I'm Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.